welcome to Your Netball Besties' very first official episode, starting with round 1 of the SSN for 2025. We have so much to talk to you about this week already. It's only started and already so much to talk about. Don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to this channel. It really helps support our channel and everything else that we are hoping to achieve for the rest of the 2025 season. If you guys follow me on TikTok, you might not be familiar with my co-host Jenna. So make sure you go and follow her on Instagram. I will put all of the details in the description box below. So today we have so much to be talking about. We're going to be touching on the Fowler Nembard and her expression of interest to come back after everything that happened. We're also going to be talking about the controversy around Marie Visser from South Africa. We're also going to be touching on Netball Australia closing their investigation on Firebirds and all of those allegations of a toxic culture. And then a little bit of a ladder review and what we have to look forward to in round 2. Okay, let's start with the first game, Thunderbirds versus Vixens. Now, this did not go the way people expected. I think, there are a lot of expectations that Thunderbirds might take this win, but I don't think anyone expected the score to be as blown out as it was.
Thunderbirds definitely had a very quieter presence at Team Girls Cup, but maybe that was very intentional. TBirds were strategic in that sense, that they sort of kept all their cards close. And after a lot of the commentators in particular also not picking them, I think Thunderbirds definitely put their foot down and showed that no, they are here. They want that three-peat and they're going to fight for it.
I think Fever and Swifts are what the pivot ladies made as their selection. Whereas I think Swifts 100% are going to be in the grand final, but I still think Thunderbirds are. Do not write them off. No, I think the three-peat is still very much on the table. Let's touch on Vixens attacking end versus Thunderbirds defense end. Now, this is an area where it's always been an uphill battle. I mean, for goodness sake, who would ever want to go up against Thunderbirds defense? So, respect where respect is due there. Having said that, I think we have seen this, which is our Diamonds starting attacking end. We have seen them struggle against the Thunderbirds defense end before. And we saw obviously Sophie Garbin switch out into a GA role, which was a very interesting choice. Wasn't expecting that. I do remember seeing her listed as a GSGA on the initial list, and I thought that was surprising. So we did actually see her out in the GA bib. When you have a Kira Austin who plays GA, that was an interesting choice.
I feel like Vixens, they started strong, they had intent, but from the get-go you could feel there was almost a level of frustration built in them, because I think, as you said, no one expected such a big blowout, but also on the same breath, you could sort of expect a big blowout because they lost to a significant amount to them many times. They were not being, Vixens were unable to beat Thunderbirds last year at all, and they were big loss margins. So you could almost feel the frustration from the players and from the coach, and I think that was really evident in the first. Sophie Garbin's really great and she's proved herself time and time again on the international stage, but seeing Sophie at GA just is a very confusing thing to me when you have someone like Lily Graham, who's a real amazing up-and-comer that was sat on the bench, and by the time that they finally brought Lily Graham on, it almost felt like it was just a bit too late. When Lily Graham came on, she did amazing.
Oh, she was amazing.
She had the
so impressed
to put up the super shots over those lunge making arms. She was, and that's what you want to see from these new players coming in. T-Birds, which honestly I think Thunderbirds have, their defense is like nothing else compared to any other team. A complete defensive effort all the way down the court.
What was really interesting was, and you noticed this, was that Simone actually made a comment about Kira Austin needing to step up, which we found very interesting.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
that didn't feel like what needed to change in that scenario.
No, I definitely think I would have made a change in that GS position, but then we did actually see her do a bit of an ankle tweak.
Yeah.
And after that, she did quieten a little bit. So that sort of leads the question, could that have maybe affecting her more than she thought? And that's why she quietened up. But
it worked really well though when Lily came on,
definitely.
and she worked a much more screening and decoy play, which allowed Lily to have so much more space.
Oh, definitely.
And I'm not sure why perhaps that type of strategy didn't work with Sophie on the court, but maybe it is linked to the ankle tweak that she had, who knows, but whatever the cause was. It worked. It definitely worked a lot smoother than in the beginning of the game. A little too late.
Yeah, I do wish we had that change come a bit sooner.
But let's talk about the Thunderbirds because they were outstanding. I always look forward to seeing Georgie swing into that GA position. I just absolutely love it. Frew, I think, did a fairly strong role, but I think that when you have a Romelda Aiken-George underneath the post, half your job's done for you. As we have seen across the board with Jock and with Grace Meckie, when you have a strong holding shooter under the post, it changes the entire flow of the game. Once we have Fallon Embard back in fever, then I think the only team that won't have that is Giants and Lightning.
Yeah.
Like they have more, Matisse, I wouldn't call her.
Circle, but yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know if you would call Matisse a moving circle, but she's not necessarily at the same like caliber as like your Jock and your Nembard.
Your typical, holding shooter.
And we will touch on these games as well. Like the Lightning moving circle was also like not what we're used to seeing, but worked really well.
Oh my gosh, Hannah Petty.
Oh,
what a game from her.
I know.
have been so impressed with her. Even in this preseason, she has just time and time again shown that she will literally throw her body on the line for her
Even
team.
the end of last season.
Oh my
the end
God,
of last
she's
season. Yeah.
Just for, someone who has been an impact player coming on and getting a start. Like that was just so really good to see. And it was just like every time one of her players got a tip, she was just there. She was just there to pick it up. She was there to get it on. Like what a good person to have behind you,
Her intercepts around the circle edge are most of the time fairly solid. Her timing is impeccable, but I'm just really so proud of her to see this
really
because last year obviously there was a lot of talk about why do you have your captain on the bench for so much of the game, and obviously we don't know the reasons behind that, but she clearly wanted to prove her worth and she absolutely has done that. I know Romelda got MVP of that game, but I really think it was a close call between her and Petty.
Yeah, I think our MVP was definitely Petty.
Next game was Lightning versus Mavericks. Now, this was a game I was very excited to watch. As you guys know, Lightning are my soft spot. Let's talk about what happened during this game.
Well, we actually saw in the pre-game interview with Cara Conan and Caitlin Thwaites that they were actually, I think Caitlin Thwaites brought up the discussion of the super shots and super shot time and sort of what their approach was. And it was just a really interesting comment that we heard Cara make where she said, if I don't start taking them, I'm out of a job.
I hope she's exaggerating there. I'm sure she's joking and exaggerating because we all love Cara. She's incredible. We've all seen how capable she is. And we have also seen how capable she is of those super shots during like last season when we saw her warming up and she was just nailing the super shots. So, the ability is there, the capability is there. Perhaps it's a coaching call or perhaps
confidence to back yourself, to go to the post, to position yourself. Steph does an incredible job at hitting those twos and, keeping them in the game, but it would also take a bit of a toll, you want to be able to rely on, and good thing we have, Riley Batcheldor that can come on and do that.
Well, we saw a very different Lightning attack end this round compared to what we saw all of last year, which, is really refreshing to see because it did start getting a little bit stale last year when it just wasn't delivering. It definitely felt like a lot more pressure and expectation on the shoulders of Steph. I'm really, really confident. Lightning look like a whole new team. Like Cara looked incredible. So we had the starting...
Yeah, I will give her credit. I actually think she ran a pretty good GA.
She did.
I thought that was a better game, and even the defenders, the Mavs defense, were giving Steph all the attention, and Cara had so much space to just do what she wanted. But also from that perspective, do you think would the Mavs defenders not adjust?
We started with Steph in the GS bib, which was the initial alarm bells of what's going on here. Perhaps she's injured, which was confirmed later by Belinda Reynolds, I believe. So she is just nursing a little bit of a niggle there, but she's obviously still capable to play. And as we all know, Steph has such incredible game smarts. So she was able to actually transition into that GS position and use her body and positioning and screening and decoy play to superb levels, which
Just
really
do what she does best, essentially.
Oh, 100%. She really allowed both Riley and Cara, who were in the GA bib half and half, to just have free run of the whole attacking end. And as you touched on before, the Mavs defense did not adjust to this.
No.
We were literally quite blown away at how easy those passes were coming into an almost undefended shooter from meters away from the circle edge. Meters.
Yeah.
I think must have happened at least 8 times.
Oh, it was almost like one after the other. It was just a very interesting, and I'm surprised that no changes were made. But then we did sort of have the discussion where we thought, I mean, who else would you really have brought on? Who, we know Lauren Moore, now Parkinson, is on the bench still nursing that ACL. But other than that, like defensive-wise, who did they have that they could pull on? They didn't really.
We did obviously notice that Jenna, now Brown, I believe.
Yes.
So she, in my opinion, previously has done a really good job at shutting Steph down when Steph is in a GA position. That matchup seems to be a lot more challenging, whereas I didn't see any of those strengths come out when Steph was in a different bib. And when she was playing a little bit of a different role, it kind of cut the legs out from Brown's playbook, really. She kind of didn't have any more tools because it just felt like both defenders were together a lot of the time, like, double teaming Steph or double teaming one of the shooters and just leaving the other one free to do whatever they wanted.
But I also think even then, defensively, why would we maybe even not see the change of Liv Lewis going up to GD? As you said, historically, she's done very well at shutting Steph down, but it was just the fact that we just didn't see any changes. It was just very interesting.
So I have very high hopes for Lightning this season. Now, I know last season they started strong and things changed, but I am hopeful and optimistic.
I think they're definitely looking like, definitely this preseason has helped with their combinations. They're looking a bit smoother. Obviously, they have some quite noticeable outs in that mid-court, so that was also a big question mark. But yeah, I think they've started strong. They're looking consistent. I was really actually excited to see Riley Batchelor get
whole half a game,
instead
not
of
just
being pulled on
super
in the
shots.
last 2 minutes.
Yeah, no,
Yes,
incredible.
really
I'm really loving everything that we're seeing from Riley. Cara did a very good job in GA.
She did.
I don't think her being benched at halftime, I think it was, in exchange for Riley, I don't think that was a representation of how she performed. I think that was literally just getting the girls court time.
Yeah, let them have a bit of a run.
Also, we had Liz Watson and her 150th game.
Very big achievement.
Absolutely love Liz. We're big Liz fans. And she, didn't disappoint by any means. She was incredible as ever. And what an impressive career she has had and is still building on. So
another 150 games.
Yeah, another 150, Liz. Why not?
Bailey Boyd debuting.
Yes.
Which is very exciting.
A short debut, but a debut nonetheless.
Yeah, still got out there. Manua coming into the Lightning side. I thought she came in.
What a find.
Yeah. I thought she came in from Giants to then, which was very controversial. This was also that same court she did get sent off of.
Oh, yes. She was the very first, wasn't she?
She was the very first send-off in against the Lightning. So that was we love a full circle moment. I thought she really fit in really well, and she was going to be a Mavs training partner this year.
Absolutely loving the addition of her in the Lightning defense. I think she's slotted in perfectly, and she very much has obviously, filled the gap of Ava Black after Ava Black's unfortunate ACL injury. I was very disappointed about that because she's another one who really has just got such a bright future.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I think Lightning have done a great job at filling that gap in her absence. Also, Lisa Maimai was out with a continued calf niggle.
Yes, which we did see in Team Girls Cup as well. She didn't play.
Yes. So hopefully we'll see Lisa Maimai back really soon because she's another one who, again, I'm loving her growth and working with Liz Watson and the combination that they have on the court. Absolutely obsessed. Lisa is just another one who has, I think a really, really strong future.
I think honourable mention to Amy Parmenter.
Yeah.
I think she is just incredible. And this preseason, she has just played with just this, I don't even know what to call it, just fierce dominance.
Her captaincy has really changed just her drive, like on like her in regards to like how full on she is on the court.
I love it. You know, she's always going to fight for that. She's hungry, and that's what you want. Big return for the Mavs side.
Sasha. Yes.
Glasgow.
Yes, absolutely. We had the absolute pleasure of meeting Sasha at Teen Girls Cup, and what a beautiful, beautiful person. Love her, and so incredibly proud of the journey that to get her back.
18 months in the making, she said.
Oh my gosh. To back at this level as well, to back to elite SSN level, that is so impressive. I think this was very much a not a 100% performance from Sasha. We've seen her pull off MVP performances before. We know it's in her, and we know she can do that again. I would say perhaps, you know, it's very much in your mind, isn't it? It's just about getting that confidence back.
I think for her first crack back, she did well. I mean, those couple of times she fell on the floor, I was holding my breath. But oh my God, that girl and her ankles, I just...
Emotional damage, that's what it is.
I think it very well was a bit of a mental thing for her, because this was also the same team she versed when she did the injury. You could see the nerves missing her first couple shots, but I have faith. I think she's just going to continue to grow in confidence as the season goes on, and I'm 100% very excited to see.
Yeah. We obviously don't have Cardwell for, I think, is it first half of this season we don't have Cardwell, or for the whole season?
I think there's no time frame on it. So we know that she had a meniscus tear, and she had her first operation, I think, over the Christmas break, and she was set to hopefully return, but then it was sort of said a couple of weeks ago she'd have to go in for a second op. So she said in the pre-game that there was no specific time frame on when she'd return, because she didn't want the pressure of it. So we may or may not see her, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't think Mavs need to worry. I think when you've got the likes of Sasha Glasgow and Shimona Jock, I would say that you have a lot of strength there.
I agreed with you on that, and I think I said the same thing before I saw this game. I do think that having that extra depth in the attacking end would perhaps ease the pressure from Sasha at the moment, and having the option of a Cardwell to switch from that GA position perhaps. I think having a little bit of depth is always going to be a little bit less pressure.
At full strength though, because right now, and she hasn't been at full strength because she did carry that injury in the end of the last season.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's only round one.
Yes, only round one.
I'm not going to put any pressure on anyone just yet.
But we are obviously, as everyone, wishing Cardwell a quick and speedy recovery.
Definitely. Yeah, injuries are not fun for anybody.
You know, from what Sasha told us, the girls and the camaraderie in the whole community in Mavs is really, really strong, and she credits that, you know, very well when we spoke to her about her recovery journey. Yeah. So I think Cardwell's in good hands.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that, you know, they're a very tight-knit group from what we've seen.
The third game of the weekend was Giants versus Firebirds. Now, we were both at the Fever game, so we couldn't watch this live because of just the time difference and travel. But I watched the mini.
I did watch it live, to be fair.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, did you watch it
Up
live?
in my corporate box with my little KO. Of course,
fair enough.
I watched it live.
I watched the mini after. Let's chat about the Giants versus Firebirds game. I was so impressed with how the Firebirds just came out firing. They have obviously come out of a lot of controversy at the end of last season and continued with the announcement of Netball Australia obviously closing the investigation. This all would have been weighing on their minds as well. We obviously want the best for the girls going into the season. The ideal situation for them is to start with a clean slate. This is not their burden to carry. So many new additions, it is absolutely not their burden to carry. Having said that, obviously, there are complications and we'll touch on that later. But let's just stick to the game for now. So what did you think?
I found this game hard to tip. I didn't know who to go for. I thought it'd be a pretty evenly contested game, and I think I was right in that sense. We saw really strong moments from the Giants, and then we sort of saw it taper off a bit, and then we saw strong moments from the Firebirds. And then it sort of, you know, and then the Giants would kick up. But I definitely think, in Firebirds' credit, I think they were able to keep a really good consistency throughout the duration of the game. And I think that's actually what got them the win in the end. The Giants would have really great moments, and then they would completely quieten, and it was almost very, very hot and cold. Saw a bit of a change in their starting lineup.
Yes, we did. Joe on the bench.
Joe on the bench.
That was a surprise.
Really happy actually to see Matisse Leatherbarrow finally get a good amount of court time. And even with the start of Erin O'Brien, I think she's been putting in such good effort over this preseason, especially with Tilly out with her injury. I was curious whether or not we'd see Tilly inject in the game, but we didn't. But I did think Erin was doing well. But in the pre-game, Tilly was asked about her injury, and she said that she had no play restrictions. She was not on restricted minutes. She was raring to go, but yet we didn't see her pulled in.
I was not surprised to see Tilly on the bench. Obviously, I hope that she can, get another appearance in SSN. But I think based on, if we're looking back, I guess, the season last year, she was very quiet. The whole defence end needed a little bit of a shake-up, we needed a little bit of a different vibe happening back there. And I think we really saw that in this round one. Again, O'Brien, like you said, she was just the right ingredient. Yes, they didn't get the win in the end. I think she works a lot better with Ward.
Yes,
I'm just
I
gonna
think so too. I think I really like their combination together.
And I'm saying this only based on the mini that I watched. So this was confusing because when you watch the minis, you don't get all of the context. So all of a sudden the camera switched and we had Harton in GA and I was like, what is going on? But then the commentators, they did mention the fact that they said, oh, Sophie is back in the building. I was like, what do you mean? Where'd she go? And I realised, head knock.
So what happened was I think Sophie was going up to catch a ball, and I can't remember exactly, but I think she was going up to catch a ball and she sort of landed back, falling to hit her legs on one of the defenders. So obviously concussion protocol, player comes off, we get them checked over, but thankfully we saw her return back to the court.
So how do you think Matisse actually went? Because again, I only saw the highlights of this game, but how did she go for the overall performance?
I think she had a really good performance. I think getting that court time behind her is just so essential. It's so essential. And having Matisse and Dwyer in there, it actually brought so much more movement through that circle. There are a lot more options there. It just it flowed really well. And
the injection of Hope White as well.
Yes, I must say. So Giants started the game and they were very quiet. They were lacking that punch. But we saw youngster Hope White come on and, oh my God, did their game lift. They completely lifted and then they even got ahead from being down. And then unfortunately, they just were not able to keep that momentum. But, having one player come on and impacting a team so much, it goes to show what they're really missing.
It's very promising. It is very promising.
It's really good, yeah.
I love going into a season and being proven wrong when, we kind of obviously have our assumptions of who's going to be in the top 4. A lot of it based on, previous seasons and then what the future lineup is or the current new lineup is going to be. And obviously because we haven't seen a huge amount of change in the Giants lineup and based on the performance last year, obviously we weren't thinking that they would be contenders for the top 4, but who knows? Who knows? I'm happy to be proven wrong.
If they just pull it out of the bag, I won't complain. They still have a lot more to work on within the team, and I think the other teams they've just developed so far.
Let's talk about Firebirds because obviously we have Mary Tollock. What an incredible contracting snag
definitely.
she was. Oh my goodness. Again, another new player that we had the absolute pleasure of meeting and talking to. And you can see these interviews, by the way, in our previous video on this channel. If you do watch it, I am standing on a box. If you're thinking, wow, Alexa's quite tall. No, I'm not. I'm on a box. She's absolutely lovely, and honestly, it just warmed my heart to see her pull out such a performance. She's really getting her confidence. We saw that towards the end of Team Girls Cup. It was a little bit shaky at the beginning, but she really came into her own eventually, and I think we're only going to see her continue to go from strength to strength.
And to mention, she was one of the later arrivals to come into the clubland environment. So while a lot of the clubs have started their preseason end of November, December, she only came into the team towards the end of January. So when we saw her in Team Girls, we didn't see her at a full potential, and I honestly don't think we've seen her at a full potential yet. I think you could definitely see she was a lot more consistent and that they're slowly working on their relationships, but I also think those Firebird girls, those attackers, they need to just get that ball a bit higher. She's very tall. You can flog that so much higher. And
she comes out a lot more than I expected.
She's for someone so tall, she can move. And I think that is really going to then post a good challenge for the defenders in the league.
Oh, 100%, because they've usually, previous seasons with Wallum, they didn't have that much of a moving circle. It was very much like a holding shooter scenario, whereas I guess I expected that to be a lot more of Mary's game, but I'm pleasantly surprised. She comes out a lot. She really offers a lot of different options.
Yeah, I think Firebirds still have a little bit to work out, but I think, we've seen some good things and they were able to get the win done. And I think, if anything, that was a really good vote of confidence. That was a good way to start off the season after not such a great end to last season.
So how do you think the Imogen Allison is adapting?
I think, a lot with the players that have come over internationally, I think you can almost tell their play style is different to the Australian sort of style of play. So I think we'll probably see a period where they will need to just make adjustments here and there. She's a really great pickup. She's a really great player. She's done some incredible things for England. And I'm really excited to see what she can do for Firebirds.
I think she was a perfect ingredient in their centre court, especially after having Rav retire at the end of last season. Even though she was out with injury a lot of it, they really, I think, were missing a strong, experienced centre. Yeah. Nothing against Macy Gardner. I think she, again, is another player with a huge future. She's incredible. She's fast. Her decisions are incredible. I think she had a really good game from the highlights reel that I watched. The experience was lacking there, and I think sometimes she could get a little bit over-emotional. You don't get that with such a strong, experienced player like Imogen Allison. Fourth game of the weekend is probably the toughest for us to talk about, and that was Fever versus Swifts. We both attended the game at RAC Arena yesterday, so we got to experience
whatever that was firsthand.
Yep, in real life. But hey, we love our girls, we love our club, and we'll support them no matter what. This is definitely not the Fever girls' best performance that they put out, but we have full confidence that they're going to turn this around. We had Grace Mwecky's debut for the SSN. Obviously, we've seen her in the scratch matches, the preseason games, the Team Girls Cup. We saw a taste of what was to come, but she really delivered. I think and I don't even think we've seen the best of what's to come of Grace.
Oh, no, she's just scratching the surface with her.
100%. But she absolutely delivered for Swifts. I think there's no denying that she is a formidable shooter to rival the likes of Fowler Nembard, I think, in regards to consistency, shooting stats, and just how difficult they are to actually defend. And it's more than just being tall. It's more than height. She is strong. When she is going for a contest in the air, she's getting the ball.
She's very strong on that take. And as a shooter, you need to be able to just absolutely rip that ball out of the air.
I'm just going to touch on my prediction based on the lineup, which was that we are going to see a Thunderbirds Swifts grand final, because I do think the combination of Houseby and Wecky is unbeatable. And then when you've got Paige Hadley and Verity Simmons feeding that circle, how do you beat that? That is an incredible lineup.
I still once again think it's too early to call anything.
Well, we do trust Dan. He's a genius coach.
Dan knows what he's doing. It was a really dominant performance from Swifts, and I think smart for them to not play her against us in the Team Girls Cup. Keep that close to the chest, which as soon as I saw her omitted from that game, I thought,
yeah, you knew.
This is so intentional. What is it? Yeah. In the other games that we did see of Grace, you could tell they just hadn't quite picked out how to feed her properly. Yeah. But, this game did they show that, you know what, we've figured it out, and you know what, we're bloody good at doing it. I really enjoyed the Dehaney and Grace matchup. I thought Dehaney was really good at contesting the ball. It was just timing. I mean, a second off or a second too early for those, but she did really well. Even Ruth came in.
I was going to say, Ruth.
She came and had a really good crack, which I thought really good experience.
I think she had a little bit of an intercept there.
She had a really good one. Yeah. You could definitely see it was getting a bit heated.
Dehaney's a very passionate player.
She's very passionate. And I must say, sometimes, I love her energy. I love her passion. Sometimes, though, I think the little facial expressions here and there are very entertaining. But, you know, I
Very
think...
Bruce-esque.
Very Bruce, yeah. Very, very along the lines of Courtney Bruce. I really enjoyed that matchup. I think we're still seeing a bit of the New Zealand sort of style of play, and we did see it in the beginning of the game where Grace pushing off with that shoulder, we were seeing the contact getting cold, and I think as the game went on, it still continued, but it was a bit more subtle, and I think you could almost see that Dehaney was getting a bit frustrated with that.
Yeah.
So then she did get to the point where she was sort of dramatising it a bit too much. The more she plays in Australian, the more she'll adjust. But also a good...
Well, we said that about Cardwell as well.
We did say that about Cardwell.
Cardwell did get called a lot for that offensive contact in her first SSN season. And she's since adjusted from what we saw. But yes, I would say the same thing is happening with Grace. And perhaps it's just the way that the SSN is umpired, is that we're a bit stricter about that.
Yeah, definitely different sort of styles in a sense too.
So let's talk about what fell apart for Fever, because this is absolutely not the performance we're used to watching them put out. And I really think that when you look down at Swift's defence end, now last season, Maddie Turner was out of play a lot. She was an extremely...
They both were very...
very, very high contact count. But now we have the injection of Dylan Nexhip as their defensive coach, and I would love to be a fly on the wall to see what he has changed, because it's worked. They really, really rattled the Fever's shooters. That attacking end lost confidence halfway through the game. It was getting... there was no confidence there. Liv Wilkinson, she is an incredible player with a huge future, as we've mentioned time and time again. We love seeing her on the court, but it was times like this when the defenders get into your head that Fowler Nembard was so missed.
And I do want to pay a little mention to Liv Wilkinson, like the other essentially rookies that we have seen. She came on, but you could definitely tell it's a confidence thing. A bit too soft on the take. We need to see that ball just ripped in. Look at the likes of Grace Nowacki, any other shooter. They're going to rip that ball in.
Every ball is like your life depends on it with her.
That being said, she did go up against Sarah Clow, an Australian Diamond defender, a very seasoned veteran. So to her credit, it would have been a bit rattling, but those are the moments you want to take as opportunities to build your confidence. But I do agree. I think Fowler was very missed.
I think it would be a very different game when you have two very, very strong holding shooters down both ends. I think it would have made it a little bit more of an even contest. But when you have a little bit more of, I guess, a moving circle, which is what we saw with Liv and Shanice for the majority of the game, and then you had the traditional moving GA in Houseby nailing all the super shots, and then the vast majority of the passes actually just going to Grace right under the post. That very traditional, combo versus, what Fever, I guess, was just the cards that they played. Yeah. It was very uneven in regards to the strength.
I mean, I was happy to see Kamwenda finally get her debut, because I know obviously there's a lot of questions and whatnot going on about that.
And we will touch on that.
It was good to see Kamwenda. I think maybe even the injection of her a bit earlier, because I think by the time Kamwenda came on, our shooters were spooked. Yeah. They were spooked. The missing shots, and it was almost like Fever were just in chase mode for the majority of that game. They were just constantly like, what do we do? Game plan abandoned. Do we try a super shot? But one would go out for a super shot and no one's positioned themselves under the post to back. And then, but the defenders had. So it was just little things like that just needed to be tweaked. But this also begs the question where Fowler is just incredible in every sense. She's an incredible player. She's has been for so long, and there's a reason that she's referred to as the GOAT. She brings so much stability.
There's a confidence that the team have when Janelle is on the court.
There. And you could almost feel that with the attackers being so hesitant to even put that ball in. You would see them second guessing. And by that time, the defenders have put themselves in the right position to get the intercept. So,
I'd love to see a rematch with Swifts and Fever when definitely. Fowler is on the court.
Yeah.
Because I think I think it'll be completely different. I think everyone would know that it would work a lot differently. And that is absolutely no negativity to MJ. I think
she is really amazing. But she's also, she's also on her own journey. She's just come back from having a baby too. She's still getting back to where she was.
And we can't put the expectations on her. Like, we're mothers. We know what it's like having a baby and recovering from a baby and getting back to sport. Not obviously elite level, but still sport.
Sport nonetheless.
We know how hard that journey is. And so we have realistic expectations, and she's doing incredibly well given the circumstances.
Definitely.
Also a huge amount of pressure to come in place of Fowler Nembon. That is some
huge shoes to
whoa.
This was Fever's first game without their pillar.
Yes.
And you could feel that they almost just felt lost. You could see the frustrations in the coaching, and I was actually sat right pretty close to Jennelle, and it was really good to see that. And if I could hear her thoughts, I would have loved to know what was going through her head.
On that subject, let's talk about the controversy at the moment between Fowler Nembard's personal situation, which has obviously meant that she would want to end her maternity leave sooner and come back to work. Which, I think some people need to remember that's what this is. It's her job, and she is under the same rights as any returning mother in a maternity contract. If something happens and you want to come back sooner, she has every right to do that, and how incredibly important it is for women across the board to have the right to come back to their job after pregnancy.
So I think a lot of that's been the discourse going on online is a lot of people don't actually understand what the issue is. So what the actual issue is obviously it was announced towards the end of last year that Fowler was expecting her second child, which was warmly received by everyone, and the club, shared their support and announced that she would be taking maternity leave. Then the big question asked, who would take her place? Then we saw the signing of Kwenda as a replacement player,
which we were so happy about as well.
We were very happy about.
Very happy about.
What a good signing. So we saw MJ now come in. Then unfortunately it was announced a couple months ago that unfortunately Jennelle suffered quite a traumatic loss. We've now seen a club statement come out probably about a week ago now, where Fever have said that Jennelle has actually expressed interest to come back into the team environment. So the big question now has gone, okay, well, who plays? You can't fit, as Kath Cox said, you can't fit 12 into 11. So the actual issue that's happening now is when a player is injured or pregnant and goes on maternity leave, they are still paid by the club their regular contracted amount for that year, their salary. The replacement player that then comes in their place is then covered by Netball Australia's insurance. The issue that's happening is there actually is no policy currently in place for any form of bereavement leave or loss of a child.
Just making it clear, this is not a failing of Fever.
No.
This is not a failing of the players.
Not in the slightest.
This is a very outdated contract that should have been fleshed out years ago.
Yes. So Netball Australia have come back and said, well, technically, the circumstance for the replacement player now doesn't really fall in any category of our insurance. The club obviously don't have the funds, salary cap and other reasons, to then fund the second player. So the question is, who's going to pay and what does this look like? Netball Australia have actually come out and said, yeah, we support her in her return, but in what capacity we've still not seen. It's been a couple of weeks now and we've still not seen any update. This policy, as you said yourself, is completely outdated.
I was shocked to find out that other women's sports, their contracts in this is 18 pages.
18 pages, and Netball Australia's is 3.
Wow. I'm very hopeful that going forward with Liz Ellis on that board, that we have a much more positive pathway for Netball Australia and netball as a whole. So I think they'll fix it. I think
they need to fix it soon. I think, Kwenda made a huge sacrifice when she uprooted her whole life. She moved to the other side of Australia over the WA to be in this team, to be the replacement player with her young child. And then to be told to sit out or not be paid would not be fair by any means. But that also being said, Jennelle does have rights to work, even under the Fair Work legislation. She actually has a right to return to work and to her job. So it's not fair that she also be told otherwise, not because with everything else going on, the last thing you really want now is a legal battle. Both women deserve to play.
Well, it's like you said, the issue here seems to be a little bit of ignorance around the subject, especially in the discourse on social media and online and in the comments. There's definitely been some unfavourable takes on this, which, we are absolutely not supportive of. At the end of the day, it's like any job. If someone is covering a maternity leave and then that person decides to end their maternity leave for whatever reason and come back sooner, yes, they are owed their legal payment for that contract, but the person who has the role that is being temporarily covered has more right to that job. And we have MJ, who I think she would admit herself, she's not at 100% fitness. She's not putting out on the court what we are used to seeing from her when she is 100%. So both of these players could share the role realistically if they can figure out the payment to make sure that they are both being legally paid what they are owed.
It's a really tough situation, a business point of view and a club point of view, and especially considering the game that we've had on the weekend. You want to put your best foot forward, and your best foot forward isn't leaving the number 1 world ranked goal shooter on the bench.
And I just want to touch on, there were comments about, very sympathetic and rightfully sympathetic towards MJ and the huge sacrifice and move that she's made. Absolutely. And no one is disputing that. And we were obviously incredibly overjoyed to have MJ be the replacement option, especially so late in the season when we honestly thought, well, who's left?
Yeah.
Who could they possibly contract? Who was not already contracted? So we were elated when she got this contract. Having said that, being sympathetic to someone's cause doesn't mean that then Fowler doesn't get her job back.
Because we were seeing a lot of people actually saying Fowler should sit out, Fowler should retire, which is just wild. Put that down to people not actually understanding what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I think I am an admin of quite a huge netball page called Netball Talk on Facebook, and I moderate and I'm engaged in a lot of things online.
I do not envy your job of moderating.
It's very fun. It's really, really fun. You meet a lot of really fun people. I've spent so much of my time actually reiterating and explaining what the situation is to people, because a lot of people actually don't know. Running off misinformed information, making their own assumptions, thinking, Fever are just trying to get around. Absolutely not. This is not a Fever. This is not a club. This is a Netball Australia issue, and it's something that needs to happen.
There was a tech issue that happened during the game. So the scoreboard went out for how many minutes was it out for?
It would have at least been probably half of the first quarter. We had no score in the stadium.
It almost felt like having the rug pulled from under you, because in that situation, Swifts had actually gotten ahead quite a lot. So then when the score came back up, it was very confronting.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa, like, how'd that happen? Not the most morale building situation. Bits to fix, goals to reach.
That's one way to put it.
So let's talk about the very sneaky addition of Marie Visser, who is a defender from South Africa, who Georgia Doyle actually spotted when we were at Teen Girls Cup. That led to a lot of discussion as to why she was here, who she was here for. We had our own little investigation in the media room.
As we know, Romelda Aiken sustained a bit of a knee injury towards the end of last season. So we saw her have an operation probably, I think, a couple months ago now. And we were then told that, she'd be getting rehabbed as she worked her way back into the team. And it was only a couple of weeks ago that we were told that she would then have a replacement player coming in her place while she still transitions to coming back to court. But funnily enough, the player that was signed for her was Marie Visser, the up-and-comer defender from South Africa. Why are we signing a defender for a shooter?
Very curious.
Yeah, so that obviously sparked a lot of speculation as to why, and also a big question as to whether or not are we going to be seeing a defender coming out of the TBirds side?
I don't know what the thinking was behind that. I think, there's a lot that goes on behind closed doors that we are not privy to.
Well, when they were saying Romelda Aiken was injured and out, and then I saw her in that preseason game playing like the knee was fine, not even a strap, not even a band-aid on that knee.
Let's talk about what I think is one of the most controversial subjects of the last couple of weeks, and that is Netball Australia closing their investigation on the toxic culture accusations at Firebirds. Players Remy Camo and Donnell Wallam have made their views very clear with their reactions online. Particularly Remy Camo, she's done interviews about how she feels and the accusations that she put forward. And Donnell Wallam has been very, very supportive and vocally in her corner. What happened here? There is a lot of confusion because I think most people would look at this and think, what do you mean no evidence was found? This is not to say that we don't want the Firebirds team to start with a clean slate, because we absolutely do. But we cannot forget that these were real experiences of real women, and their stories still matter. If they say things happened that are not above board, then it feels very disrespectful to not take that seriously. So I'm very curious as to why they haven't presented their findings. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that ANPA, so Australian Netball Player Association, have requested to see the findings of the investigation. And as far as I know, I haven't seen any update on whether that's happened.
Remy Camo made the decision to move to New Zealand and play in their league, and so did Donnell Wallam, and I wish them all the best, and I hope that they have a really good season there.
We can only hope that the players can move on from whatever they feel that they experienced. And going forward, obviously, we just hope that the best for everyone, that the players can continue their careers elsewhere, and that the new Firebirds environment is nothing short of a positive, uplifting and supportive one. Now let's talk about our favourite matchups in this round.
So enjoyed watching Katie-Ann Dehaney and Grace Nowacki just absolutely going at it in that shooting end.
So for me, my favourite matchup was actually unexpected, based on a surprise position change. And that is, I was really looking forward to seeing Jenna Now Brown against Steph Fretwell, which is normally a GA and GD pairing. But because Steph went into a GS bid position, it really changed, I think, what Brown was expecting from her and what she would have prepared to play against Steph, in how Steph normally plays in the attacking end. She controlled that attacking end in a position that she doesn't even move as much as she normally does. Now let's talk about where the ladder is sitting at the moment, because I know it's only round one, but so far I don't think anyone had this on their bingo card. No. Nobody expected Firebirds to be in the top 4 and for Fever and Vixens to be sitting at the bottom. Because this is not just about the loss, this is percentage, this is goal number. They both had such huge losses for round one, which we all know that these teams are going to come back from that. This is not a representation of how their entire season is going to go at all. They are fantastic at adjusting and fixing.
And they'll be back firing next week, no doubt.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, we can't ignore the fact that this is going to be affecting their confidence. You can't not have such a huge loss and it not affect your confidence going into round 2.
That's when you need to have some tough conversations. That match, I don't envy any of those girls that are sitting in that match review right now, probably. But at the end of the day, that's what makes you better.
I mean, we all know we can't take round 1 too seriously, but then we also say that about, we can't take any preseason game too seriously. We can't take Team Girls Cup too seriously. There are a lot of games yet to be played. A lot of games, and anything can happen at this point. We obviously are likely going to see the injection of Fowler Nembard in Fever, so that is really going to
point, definitely
not only boost their morale and confidence, having their pillar back in the starting lineup, but obviously that attacking end is going to work a lot smoother. Same thing with Vixens. They'll go back. Simone is a genius at adjusting. They have Maloney, who is just the center of positive energy, and I'm sure will be boosting the girls' morale. And I have no doubts, Vixens always come back. They always come back firing.
And I think that's where the similarity lies between Fever and Vixens. They're very similar in that sense. Like, they have that fight and they have that hunger, and when it's unleashed, they can be unstoppable. The best is yet to come from them.
Let's talk round 2. Who is playing against who and what our tipping is. For Saturday's game, Jenna, we have Fever versus Firebirds. Who do you think is going to take the win? It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. I think
An unexpected tough one. Let's be honest. An unexpected tough one.
I'm going to have faith and I'm going to say Fever. I think it'll be a pretty good game, but I think Fever will take it.
I want to say Fever, but I'm just looking at where it is. And Firebirds will have a home game advantage. We don't know how that is going to affect their play this time because it is a very different team to what we saw last year. So I'm hoping that you were right and that we are going to see a much more confident and consistent team across the board for Fever. I am going to tip Fever for the win in this situation, but I think it's going to be very tight.
I think it'll be close. I think it's going to be a close one, and it's going to be one of those games where it could sort of go anyway.
Yeah. Next, we have Swifts versus Mavs. So I know who I'm going to tip. Who are you going to tip?
I think I have to go Swifts.
Yes, I think unless they have a secret weapon up their sleeve with the defense end for Mavs, from what we saw in round one, I would say that Swifts are going to have possibly another huge win. Okay, Sunday's games, we've got Lightning versus TBirds. I'm so excited for this one. Very, very excited.
Yeah, I think that's probably my game of the round, I think I'm most excited for. I think this will be a really good contest.
Who are you going to give it to?
I'm going to go TBirds.
It's hard not to pick TBirds, right? I mean, we've literally...
Really hard,
back-to-back premieres. They're not looking like they're weak in any areas. They are looking strong across the board. I don't see any weak spots. And although Lightning have had a very, clear, confident win, we've got a lot yet to see. Will Steph still be injured?
I think that's a big thing for me. If we see Steph in GS, I think especially an injured Steph against the likes of Shamira Sterling.
Well, here's the thing. We obviously have the Thunderbirds defense. They're very, very tall, long, on the lean. But Steph Fretwell is the step back queen. As is Georgie Horges. They're shorter shooters in the circle. What my question is why aren't all shooters implementing this tool? Because when you are against a Shamira Sterling on the lean, everyone suddenly turns into a very short shooter.
Yeah.
And you see those rejections and those intercepts.
It doesn't feel natural to me to take a step back ever. I'd much rather pass it out and get better with a split. So
I definitely do it a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm shorter than you.
Yes, you are shorter than me.
I've accepted it.
This was a big topic of debate recently because somebody, who will go unnamed, likes to think that they're taller than me. But we have confirmed that, in fact, I am taller, and we have now accepted that.
It was surprising how many people, when they watched the interviews with the players, and they were like, oh, I thought you said you were short. Babes, I am like on a box, or I am wearing shoes that are like this big. I just wanted to fit in the frame, and that was the goal. It will be a T-Birds win, I think. Last game of the round 2 will be Vixens versus Giants. Now, this actually has a big question mark over it for me. I think ordinarily we'd be quite confidently saying Vixens. And, we did say Vixens have a great way of coming back harder and stronger. They really do recover well from losses. Having said that, Giants are looking stronger than they have before. And I think perhaps the change in the lineup, with the change of having O'Brien as a starting defender and then Matisse starting on the court as well, that really injected a whole different energy.
And starting with Hope White. I think she was the difference for them.
And hopefully no head hits where you have to lose Sophie Dwight from the game for too many minutes.
But I mean, a Joe Harden coming back out to cover you isn't awful either. Congratulations to Joe Harton and to her wife on welcoming their first baby last week.
Yes, congratulations to Joe. For your beautiful baby. That's amazing news, and we couldn't be happier for you. Jenna is currently pregnant with her 4th at the moment, so we are no stranger to babies.
Yes, that's why we have a strategically placed laptop. Thank you.
I think that Vixens are going to come back. I really think.
Because so
if you think about where their weakest point was in round 1, it was down the attacking end against arguably the best defense in the world. And if we're just looking at stats and numbers, Giants do not have a defense that is anywhere as strong as T-Birds. So I think that Vixen's attacking end, we're just going to see them at their best again.
It just really depends because, like even Simone said after this week's game for the girls, like her diamond shooters, she expects more from them, which rightfully so. That's our starting shooters.
When we talk about where it fell apart for them was against international defenders that they need to play against and beat in international diamonds games.
Exactly. And I think our biggest thing, it's just going to be confidence. Once your confidence rattled and you've had an off day, you're going to be in your head for a bit about it. So it's all going to be about how they bounce back.
Yeah,
And
which they
what
can. We know
mentality
they can.
go into the game.
We have seen Vixens bounce back from a halftime huge deficit.
Yeah.
And they have somehow turned that around. Consistently, they've started off slower and they come back hard. I do think that Vixen's going to take this one.
If they come in with their cool heads and they play the clinical game that we know they're all capable of, I think they can get the job done.
We just want to finish on letting everyone know where you can actually watch the SSN, because this is something that I get asked a lot and Jenna gets asked a lot on Netball Talk.
Oh, so many posts.
Daily.
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah.
So if you are in Australia, you can watch the SSN on either KO. If you don't want to pay the full subscription, they do have Sunday KO freebies as well as the KO minis to have catch-ups on the game. You can also watch all of the games on binge. So that is actually what I have done. So I cancelled my KO subscription and we subscribed to binge and we still get access to everything. And of course on Foxtel.
And for international viewers, you can watch it via Netball Pass, but you have to check your local listings because I think the price varies based on your location.
Is that for all international, like New Zealand, England and South Africa?
Yep, anyone outside Australia.
Now, finally, our last segment is You Called It. This is where you get a chance to let us know what your analysis and your predictions are for the upcoming games, and we will chat about the best ones in next week's episode. You can send through your voice messages to our Bestie Hotline. Just leave a voice message or a DM to either Jenna's Instagram account or her email address. I will put that information on the screen and in the description box as well. You can literally ask us anything and give us your opinions on what you've heard today, or even ideas for things you want to see from us or for us to be talking about. And as always, we look forward to chatting to you in the comments. And again, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and to like this video if you've enjoyed it. And also so you don't miss any of our videos, obviously. Let us know in the comments what you guys think, because this is our very first episode and we want to make sure that you guys are liking what we're putting out.